In late 2015, everything was ready. The ExoMars gear left the technical facilities for the mission's launch pad in Baikonur, Kazakhstan. The gear was scheduled to depart mid-December and arrive right before Christmas. A special gift for the scientists who've been working on the project for a decade.
More than 300 people in this company have been working on developing this mission for the last 10 years. And so you can imagine that we were all crossing our fingers and wishing our probes the full success.
March 2016. The launch date is close. Surrounded by kilometers of desolate land with rough weather conditions, Baikonur was chosen as a launch pad by the USSR over 60 years ago. Schiaparelli and TGO are being kept in technical facilities. 496 million kilometers stand between the capsule and its destination, Mars. The orbiter's tanks are filled with over 2,000 liters of fuel. Russia's Roscosmos team takes over for the launch part of the mission.
Rocket is just a controlled explosion, one can say. Therefore, you can never be confident before. Each and every launch is a very complicated issue.
The rocket for the launch has failed a few times in the past. There's always launching a spacecraft into space is always a very risky business. It can go wrong.
ExoMars will be launched by a powerful rocket Proton, a two-stage rocket designed by the Soviets in the 1960s. The same design that crashed shortly after takeoff on July 2nd, 2013. The rocket Proton is on the launch pad, and the ExoMars spacecraft is installed in the nose of the launcher. If all goes well, 10 hours and 45 minutes after the launch, the Proton launcher will release its payload, and the ExoMars mission will be on its way to Mars. The launch program is a carefully orchestrated and precisely timed event.
A launch followed by orbit insertion, then followed by setting in orbit around Mars requires a number of mechanisms of ignitions, reignitions, verifications, robotic controls, software, and so on, all incredibly complex. A single mistake could compromise everything.
At 3:31 p.m. local time, the rocket Proton will take off. The ascension phase will take about 10 minutes until the third stage is separated. After a series of 4 burns, the final stage of the Proton launcher maneuvers the ExoMars stack into the escape trajectory and releases it. TGO will deploy its solar panels and communication antenna. In October 2016, after 7 months of travel, Mars will finally be within reach.
October 2016 is the next critical phase. The ExoMars probe will be close to Mars. 4 days beforehand, it will release the Schiaparelli module, which will continue straight forward to enter into the atmosphere 4 days later. Then the orbiter, the future ExoMars satellite, will make a small maneuver to avoid Mars, passing nearby before it rekindles its engines.
The European Space Agency will use an aerobraking technique to place the TGO in low orbit around Mars.
We're going to use friction of the atmosphere to do what we call circularizing the orbit, meaning bringing the probe closer to Mars. Each time it passes close to Mars, it will enter into the atmosphere, then put on the brakes, and that is what we call air braking. Month after month, we'll be able to secure the orbit.
Three days after having been released by the TGO, Schiaparelli will reach the Martian atmosphere. The heat shield will protect the capsule during deceleration. Next, Schiaparelli will have to land. 11 kilometers away from the planet, the 12-meter in diameter parachute will deploy while the module is traveling at a speed of 1,650 kilometers per hour.
It will deploy a parachute to slow down further. and then switch on the radar altimeter to determine the distance to the ground.
At 7 kilometers away, the heat shield will be released. The propulsion system will slow the module until it is near the ground.
In a full automatic mode, the landing will follow till 1.5 more or less meters from the soil, and then all the engines will be switched off to allow just a small crash based on a piece of hardware which is a crashable structure. The difficulties there, especially in the last phase in which we control the system, is that from ground we do nothing. Everything needs to be automatic.
We have a platform on which part of the spacecraft will crash, full impact, and absorb the most part of the generated energy, so that parts under the platform are protected.
Schiaparelli will complete a controlled landing with no guidance from Earth. TGO will continue its journey in low orbit and start detecting possible gas traces. Data packages will then be transmitted to Earth. Once Schiaparelli's batteries die, it will turn off forever. But the ESA and its partners will have accomplished an important scientific mission to Mars. The time of departure has come. Dozens of journalists and scientists have made the trip to Baikonur to see the launch. The countdown starts. After years of work and hundreds of millions of euros, a place in space history is at stake. The rocket Proton takes off. Proton has taken off, and ExoMars 2016 is underway.
I feel something empty in me, and I'm speaking about myself, because ExoMars has taken so much of my time, depression, enthusiasm, and everything going forth and back, that when you see it launching, then you say now, almost you say, what do I have to do now?
This project was so difficult that actually launching this mission as planned on the year that was planned, and seeing it taking off, it was really impressive. It was a lot of effort, a lot of groups, engineers and scientists working together to make it happen, and so it was really, really a great day.
Once the probe is confirmed it is on the right trajectory, the teams behind ExoMars know they have written a successful chapter in space exploration.
On Schiaparelli, there are the names of all the people that work on this mission. We were pushing, we were there.
ExoMars 2016 is on its way to the Red Planet through tens of millions of kilometers of deep space. The rover is still a work in progress, scheduled to launch in 2020 with some delays due to financial setbacks. If successful, the ExoMars mission will make its contribution to one of space exploration's great pursuits, the search for evidence of life on Mars.